Greetings. Today I'm going to talk about Pocahontas' marriage to John Rolf, the Virginia planter. On April the 14th, 1614, Pocahontas, the daughter of Chief Powhatan, married planter John Rolf, bringing an end to the four-year-old First Anglo-Powhatan War. Before getting started, I would encourage you to subscribe to the Mossy Feet Books YouTube channel for more great content. If you like my videos, please hit the like button. The more likes I get, the more YouTube will show it to other people, allowing me to grow the channel. I also entreat you to visit my website, www.mossyfeetbooks.com. There you will find sample chapters, podcasts, a slew of content, and links to where you can buy my books. While visiting the website, you can subscribe to it and receive email notifications of when I publish a new book or other content like this video and podcast. This episode is based on my book, Colonial American History Stories, 1215 through 1665. Pocahontas lived from about 1595 to March 1617. The Amerindian girl Pocahontas enters history with the story of John Smith's rescue from the death at the hands of her tribe. Historians dispute the veracity of the story. However, there is no doubt that a friendship formed between Smith and the girl Pocahontas, the Amerindian girl named Matoaka. She was the daughter of the powerful Chief Powhatan. He was the principal chief of the Tensacoma, and I'm probably mispronouncing that. This was an alliance of about 30 Algonquin tribes that inhabited the area around Jamestown. Like most members of this native tribe, Pocahontas had several names. The name Pocahontas was a childhood name that referred to her mischievous nature. Matoaka was not her true birth name. No one knows this name, as the natives would not tell the English that one out of fear that they would cause her harm through it. During the first difficult years of Jamestown, Pocahontas visited the colony every few days. She frequently bought food and other supplies needed by the struggling Englishmen. Late in 1609, Smith became injured in a fire and had to return to England for treatment of his injuries. Relations between the tribes and the English deteriorated after this time. The English told Pocahontas that Smith had died. The First Anglo-Powhatan War began later in 1609. During the latter stages of this war, the English captured Pocahontas in 1613. They held her hostage, hoping to end the war. During her captivity, her captor, Sir Thomas Gates, treated her well. She learned English and converted to Christianity during her captivity. It was during this captivity that she fell in love with John Rolf. During their captivity, the First Anglo-Powhatan War ended. Pocahontas had received permission to return to her tribe. However, he and John Rolf had fallen in love. Rolf, being a religious man, struggled with his desire to marry a heathen woman, but Pocahontas had converted and taking the name Lady Rebecca in the process. Rolf requested permission from Pocahontas' father, Powhatan. He acceded, and the two married. The marriage produced a son, Thomas, born on January the 30th, 1615. The marriage encouraged peaceful relations between the tribes and between the colonists and the tribes for many years. About a year later, John, Pocahontas, and Thomas made a trip to England. One of the primary purposes of the Virginia Company had been to convert the natives to Christianity. Thus, the company decided that Pocahontas made a good example of their efforts. Converted, married, and the mother of a Christian son all made good marketing in England. Therefore, in 1616, the Rolfs prepared to take a voyage to England with a group of 12 other Powhatans. They arrived in the port of Plymouth on June the 12th, 1616. From Plymouth, they took the coach to London, where they resided at Rolf's English home in Hatcham, Norfolk. They also lived at Brentford, Middlesex, during their sojourn in England. The family traveled throughout England, the Virginia Company paying their expenses. The English received her well, though treating her more as a curiosity than a king's daughter, as Rolf had wished. On January the 15th, 1617, they met with King James I at the banqueting house in the Palace of Whitehall. The meeting took place at a performance of Ben Jonson's Masque, The Vision of Delight. John Smith was in London during Pocahontas' stay, and she learned that he was alive, not dead, as the English had told her. After several months, he met with her, a meeting that filled Pocahontas with so much emotion that she had to turn away from him. During their meeting, she reprimanded him for the way he treated her people after Father Powhatan had treated him so well. He had called her father, and she had called her father, and she wanted to call Smith by that name. Because she was a king's daughter, this form of address discomfited him. She told him at length that the English had told her that he was dead. However, one of her tribal companions had told her to look for him in England because, quote, because your countrymen will lie much. The Rolfs prepared to return to Virginia in March 1617. As they traveled down the River Thames, they dined with Captain Argall. Sometime after the meal, Pocahontas grew ill. They took her ashore at Gravesend, where she died from unspecified causes. Because she had been in good health up to the meal, some suspected poison, a suspicion never proved. After the funeral, they buried her at St. George's on March the 21st, 1617. Because the church burned, no one knows the exact location, but many feel it is under the chancel. John Rolfe left Thomas in the care of his brother Henry Rolfe and returned to Virginia. He lived there for 5 years and watched as the peace of Pocahontas unraveled. The Powhatans made a major assault on Jamestown in 1622. During the assault, they killed about 1/4 of the population, Rolfe included. Thomas Rolfe returned to Virginia around 1625. Pocahontas' bloodline survives through Thomas in many Virginia families. This episode is based on my book, Colonial American History Stories, 1215 through 1664, available on the website www.mossyfeetbooks.com. The book is the first book in the 6-volume Timeline of United States History series. Discover some of the famous and also some of the almost forgotten historic stories of America. The story begins with the signing of the Magna Carta in 1215 and the beginning of the concept of limited government, and ends, for now, with the beginning of the American Revolution in 1775. The articles in the book have more detail, as well as articles in the book that are not included in this podcast series. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and thank you for listening.